RE/MAX has a form that gives them, that allows the lender to go ahead and give you the closing disclosure, okay? Without it, then we can't send it to you. I can send you a settlement statement, which I will do the day before closing if we have everything. But what we have to do is we have to wait for the lender instructions. We take the information on the lender instructions, that tells us what we have to comply with and what we have to, how we have to build our settlement statement, okay? Once we know that all numbers are correct, then we go ahead and send that out as final. Actual loan documents, the buyers will sign, coordination, yes, okay. Resolving walkthrough problems. Your contract allows you to do walkthrough up to 7 days prior to closing. It is advantageous to you to do your walkthrough prior to settlement, because if there's issues, you can call ahead, you can deal with it with the listing agent without it becoming a day of settlement crisis. Make sure that your clients understand the contractual requirements. So systems that are in normal working order, if they're working, but not their normal working order, they're still working. House needs to be vacant at the time of closing, okay? And room swept with trash and debris removed. Make sure they understand what that means. Home inspection, repairs, and receipts, if that's needed before closing, make sure you get them at least a couple days before closing. If your sellers, we're having a lot of sellers at the time of closing still have movers in the driveway, it becomes a problem. And then, just tell your clients to leave it in a condition in which they would want to walk in if they were purchasing the house. Okay, there's so many times sellers come in and they have cleaning people that came in and the purchasers are just more excited and really happy to be there because they cleaned the house and looks great. Even the littlest things, they would look over if they walked in and they felt that it was clean and ready for them. Okay, if it's not, then they start nitpicking. We all do that, right? Well, if it's like this, then obviously, clearly, this is not going to work right, and this is not going to work right, and all of a sudden you got walkthrough issues. Okay, but make sure you allow sufficient time. So if there's home inspection items, make sure you do the walkthrough maybe 6 days prior to closing, and just say I want the receipts, and then 4 days or 2 days before closing, we're going to go walk them again to make sure that these items have been fixed. Or the day of closing, then you can make sure that they've been fixed. But your big walkthrough needs to be prior to the day of closing. Tell your client that everything's going to be okay, because it's going to be okay. Clients mirror their realtors. So if you're really uptight and you're anxious and everything, they're going to be the same way. But if you're like, you know what, I'm going to call the listing agent, we're going to take care of this, everything's going to be fine, they're going to be a lot more calm, and that's how you want them, okay? I have not had a closing not closed because of a walkthrough issue that we can't deal with, okay? If, depending on the type of transactions you have, FHA or VA, escrows may not, just think escrows are not going to be an option. Lenders do not like escrows for walkthrough items, okay? What we can do is we can increase closing cost credits. You have to ask the lender, because the ratios have to stay the same. You can't mess with, they have to have a certain amount of money into the transaction. But we can also pay invoices on the settlement statement. So if you have a toilet that's not working, you call the plumber and you say, what is it going to cost to get this done? Oh, it's going to cost $150 plus parts. Then you have them send you an invoice that we can pay at closing. Okay? But don't wait till the day of closing to walk in and be like, okay, we need $500 more in closing costs and that, because sometimes it becomes not a smooth settlement, and expectations, and people are, you got tempers flaring, and then all of a sudden, something that was minute turns into a really big thing. Okay. Always drive separately from your clients. The reason why we say that is because if there's issues, then you're able to call. You get to call your plumber, you get to call us, you get to call the listing agent and discuss it. Okay? Come up with a plan before, come in and say, it's all fixed, got it taken care of, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh, problem solver. Love that. Okay? And like I said, research the costs. What else? So suggestions for keeping your cool. I find this slide interesting. Trust your settlement team. Work with people that you know and trust to get the job done correctly. Do not badmouth the other agent. Stay professional. Okay. There's a couple options. So we can delay closing. If there's some big issues, we delay closing, right? You don't want your client taking on big issues if you don't know what it's going to cost. Okay. You must get an addendum extending settlement. That all breaches of contract are treated equally. So you want to be very careful about advising. We have people all the time saying, well, if these things aren't fixed, you're not going to closing, or if these aren't repaired, we're not going to closing, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not in breach of contract. Okay. Remember that contract terms survive the settlement. So you can do a close date. These things need to be repaired by if you want to still go to closing. Or get invoices so that they can be paid. You can set up times in which I've had people set up times, well, can you make it at, on Friday at 10, can you be there at the house? And so a lot of times purchasers are okay with that, as long as you have somebody coming down and it's being dealt with. So you know that escrows have to be approved by lenders, okay, so we can't just lob on an escrow. The escrow agreement should list what the repairs are going to be made, indicate who's making the repairs, and you need to have a close date. Make sure you have a deadline, okay, it needs to be done by. Should detail how the funds are being released and to whom, and should not be based upon buyer satisfaction. So many times people are like, well, I need to inspect it first. You can have a licensed contractor go out and fix it, but it's not up to their terms, right? And then they're not releasing, they're asking not to release the escrow. So those are the things not to stay away from. But always assume that the lender's not going to allow an escrow. Okay, so this one, the reason why the escrow has to be on the closing disclosures is a violation of CRESPA and RESPA. So RESPA is your Real Estate Settlement Protections Act. CRESPA is your Consumer Real Estate Protections Act. And we are unable to hold a silent escrow or hold money in the file that's not shown on the CD. Okay, so we have all the monies have to be accounted for. Even if we're holding a security deposit, you're going to sign an escrow agreement with us. Okay, it's going to be on the settlement statement. It's just going to outline exactly what your post-settlement occupancy. Exactly the terms are going to be the same, but at least you're allowing us to hold the escrow. Okay. Both RESPA and CRESPA require that money change hands within a transaction disclosed on settlement. Right. Sometimes your brokerages can hold them, but not often. Will a brokerage hold the escrow? Okay. Option 3, seller credit the buyer. So if you have an idea, it's going to be another $200 increase. You can go and increase the closing cost credit. Again, lender's approval. Option 4, we can go ahead and we can go ahead and make repairs, pay vendors, pay your contractors directly on the settlement statement, and we're happy to do that because it shows a disbursement, it shows who, and you're providing us an invoice. Okay. Any questions? The day of closing, the day after closing, once we go, we'll go to record. We'll do a title breakdown, we'll record and disperse within 48 hours. Usually we do that within 24 hours. We wire all funds to the payoff lenders. Second trust checks get sent instead of, so we're able to stop, we wire everything else, we're able to stop the interest more quickly than actually overnighting because FedEx is not as reliable as they used to be. When your clients are wiring, okay, if they call me and they want to change their wire, I have to have them either come back in and give me the actual wiring instructions, or I'm gonna have to, or they can't leave the settlement room without giving me the wire instructions if that's what they want. But they have to come back and give them to me. I will not take the information from an email. You shouldn't take an information from an email because of wire fraud that's going on right now. Okay? I usually give them my cell phone number. I get their cell phone number, and what they do is they text me their stuff, and then I call them and I go over it with them. So we want no trace of wiring and bank accounts or anything going through with your email, or our email. Okay, and it's for your client's protection. Incomplete settlements. Sometimes we go to closing at 10 o'clock in the morning and you're working with a lender and the wire hasn't got there yet, but we know they've sent the wire. You'll sign what's called an incomplete settlement agreement. It means we're not going to hold up closing. We're going to have you sign, but your client can't take possession until those funds get into our account. Okay? You always know that we have funds or we don't have funds before you sit down at a closing at Echo Title. Okay? Any questions? No? Okay. I do have, like I said, a mock settlement. I'm out of the Centerville office, which is really not far from here. I'm actually conducting a mock settlement on Wednesday from 10 to 12. What we'll do is we'll go through an entire settlement. We'll go through the documents, so you can see a deed of trust, a note. We'll go over the settlement statement so you'll understand the mechanics of it. I'll show you what a title search looks like. I'll show you what a title commitment, title finder looks like. Just so you have the terminology. When you'll understand, well, we don't have the title work, you know what they're looking for. They're not looking for the actual title work, they're looking for the lender. And it gives you an opportunity to really sit in your client's shoes and ask questions, so that when you come in for your first closing, then you know what you're doing. You're like, oh, okay, I'm good, okay? And you'll never know from me, your clients will never know that you're new, ever. I promise. You've been in it 20 years, you're awesome at what you do, okay?
I've got another question.
Yeah.
So this contract just got ratified yesterday, the short sale one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Do I send this in after the short sale, or after the bank approves it, or do I
You do it now.
Now? Okay, that's what I was.
And the reason why is they have to build the settlement statement for that,
Okay, got
okay?
it.
According to that.
Got it.
And they do a really good job up there. We'll be happy.
Lisa, what's the range for, admin fees? We call it archival fee, but what's the range for that with different brokerage firms?
I'm seeing, okay, so Weikert and Long and Foster, 345. Remax is 250. Sometimes 350
We're 300,
or 300. But I think
somewhere
in
for,
between there.
for the different offices.
Century 21, Redwood is 125.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah. But it's really, and some of the people, it's determined by what they disclose to their clients. So I've had upwards of 750,
Oh my God.
but not recently. But it's usually between, I would say, 400, 125, and 400 max. And so VA is, just so you know, VA will not allow you to charge that.
We have to pay it
You
ourselves.
pay, or they pay you outside with a personal check. There's a couple of fees also that are not allowed to be paid with VA. You're not allowed to, tax service fee, and there's another, there's two other, I think it's tax service fee, and there's one more that can't be for VA.
Tax service fee?
Tax service fee.
Tax service.
So lenders collect a tax service fee on every transaction, and it allows them to pay the taxes, receive your bills, and pay your taxes. And so as a VA, you're not allowed to charge them that. So no admin fee, no of that.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So we're kind of in the middle at 3.
yeah, you're definitely not high comparatively to, like I
It's a
said.
DS fee, just like a processing fee when you buy a new car. It's just, for nothing, it's just money for the company.
Well, right. I mean, it's money for them too, for.
But we're
just-
paying for everything already, so it's just something they can get away with.
You think?
Yeah.
But if you don't
I
charge it
actually
to your
pay it.
clients, then
I
they
pay it for
right?
all of my clients.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Consistently, yeah.
Okay.
And then I explain to them that I think it's a bullshit fee, and because of that, I'm gonna pay it for you, and they like that.
I understand it as it goes into personnel, it goes into advertising, it goes into
Yeah,
the parties, and it goes
so
into
we're
all of
paying
that.
for all that anyway,
Right.
It's just on top of all that.
Well, you're nice, and there is other agents that do waive that, and it's like, well, I'm gonna, as a gift to you, I'm gonna waive this for you.
We have some in here, you can charge whatever you want, you
Right.
have to make up the difference if we don't come up to the 300, but we have some guys in here charge 400 or more, so
Right.
they make the profit on it themselves.
Well, right, I mean, as long as you're disclosing it and they're agreeing to it,
Right,
you're fine.
right,
He
exactly.
charges 7% though.
Oh my God.
Can I get your cards?
I'm,
And my contact information is,
another quick question.
yeah,
Does it matter who I email it to? Do I just email it to Vienna?
Vienna@echotitle.com.
Okay, so that's okay.
That's perfect, yeah. Or Nana, I don't know Nana's last name.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.